welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're playing through Darkest Night 2nd Edition by Jeremy Lennert, and we have all of our heroes out here on the map, our brave four souls that are trying their best to overcome the Necromancer back here in the castle, who's currently unleashing crows, skeletons, and omens all over the place. Over here in the swamp, the Nymph is surrounded by skeletons and a taint, as well as a mystery which we really want to try to succeed at in order to give us a lot of clues. The clues will help us get a holy relic, which looks like this. And of course, we've got two other heroes down here in the ruins area. We have the Conjurer and the Rogue, and then over here we have the Alchemist, who's in the village with an omen on him. But for the most part, this side of the board is very, very clear, so that's good. We've cleared up this whole area. There is a mystery here, which we're waiting until the darkness track ticks over to 10, and when it does, a card will be introduced. When it does, I'm going to try my best to get back over here to solve this particular mystery, to remove the darkness card, and then hopefully gain 2 clues. That's at least the strategy. So let's go ahead and start. We're going to start off with the Alchemist. I've gone ahead and activated all 4 of the tokens so that they're all on the correct side. And the Alchemist here is going to begin with potentially losing secrecy. But the Necromancer's not in his spot, and he doesn't carry a holy relic, so that won't be happening. But we will be pulling an event, but because of this omen right here, it's going to make higher fate events a reality. And because of that, we're going to pull 2 events and take the worst of the 2. First one here is Metamorphosis, which is a 3, and the second one is Jinx, which is a 6. So we obviously are going to be taking the 6, even though I really don't want to, but we'll see what happens now. So, Jinx. The artwork in this is really cool, so I'm always trying to focus on that for you guys. This one says, spend a grace. I don't really want to do that. Or, turn all dice you roll into 1s. And ignore rerolls for the rest of the turn. Oh, okay, well that's not a bad thing, because you know what, I was thinking of potentially not doing any rolling against this anyway. So this just made my mind up. So essentially, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to do the bottom of this. Turn all your dice rolls to 1s. Ignore rerolls for the rest of the turn. It says your bag rips, a branch catches your belt, the horse loses its shoe. Something is wrong. So something's gone terribly wrong. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and take that Jinx, which is messing with us. So I'm thinking right now that with my Alchemist here and the 3 exhausted power cards, that I think it makes sense to get his cards back. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to refresh my powers so I can get them all back, because we obviously use them quite a lot and I want them all back. So we're going to bring all 3 of these back, and that's going to basically be the end of the Alchemist turn. We're going to go ahead and flip this over. And of course, we're all done. We don't have any yellow blights in our area, so there's nothing to worry about that way. We're going to come over here to the Rogue, who goes next, although I can choose whichever individual I want to go next. So at this particular point, I think I'm just going to have the Rogue go. Now, the Rogue is in the ruins, so the Rogue is right here. And the things around, what I'm really tempted to do with the Rogue is to run into the swamp to help the Nymph out. Because we got a lot of things we got to take care of in there, and there's not too much to take care of over here. So I think I'm going to have the Rogue head over to the Nymph's location. Now, if I want to do that, the only risk I have here is the Rogue is at a 4 grace and a 4 secrecy, which is not that high. Now, I can use contacts in order to exhaust any time to gain a secrecy. Now, the other thing, too, is maybe that's what I do. Maybe I try to keep our secrecy really high so the Necromancer doesn't come in there. The only downside is we're going to have to deal with ending our turn in a location with skeletons where they're going to attack me, which is not exactly the best. It might be better to get ready for... Let's do something like this. First we'll do... well, before I guess we do anything else, the Rogue isn't going to lose any secrecy from the Necromancer or from the Holy Relic, but I still have to pull an event. So let's do that before I plan out the rest of my strategy here. So, Latent Spell. This is a low difficulty one, so it shouldn't be too bad. Oh, great. Lose Secrecy. That's exactly what I didn't want to happen. Then spend 1 grace or discard this event without further effect. Ooh. Roll 1 die and take the highest. Yuck. Okay, so lose 1 Secrecy, then spend 1 grace, or discard this event without further effect. Oh, because it has all these things that could potentially be good. That's why. Destroy a blight of your choice anywhere on the board. Oh, wow. Draw a power card. Move to any other location. No, okay. You know what? I think I got to take advantage of this. So first off, I lose a secrecy. I don't have a choice on that one. But I can then spend 1 grace in order to get one of these bonuses down here. I still have to roll the die. So that's where things get interesting. So I won't have too much of a choice, but it's a 50-50, I guess, because 1 to 3 is no effect. Yikes. Do I risk it? Is the question. Do I risk it? Moving to any other location is not really something I even need right now. If I moved anywhere, I probably wouldn't move into here because I don't want to have to fight the skeletons and get hit by them. I'd probably really like to land a 6 or a 5, but the chances of that happening are like not looking too good. But you know what? Let's try to risk it. Let's risk it. Let's have some fun. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to spend the grace. This is very risky, guys. So just another thing to note, as an action on my turn, and I'm still in the event phase, but as an action, I can go back to the monastery and pray, and you can essentially roll a die, and for each 3 that you get, you gain a grace back. So that's technically how you get your grace back, because obviously as grace goes down, that's bad. That's your protection from dying. So we're going to go ahead and roll a die here for the latent spell, and we're going to hope for the best. Please be a 5 or a 6. We got a 3. No effect. Nothing we can do about that. It did not work out in our favor. So I lost a grace for nothing. I guess that's what happens when you gamble. So with that being said, that card has been completely resolved. Now, the next thing I'm really worried about is my secrecy has dropped substantially. It's in a very dangerous area, and if I was to use an action on my turn right now to move my rogue into this location, then when I'm in here, it would be bad, because the Necromancer could likely come into this location. That would damage both of our secrecy in the following turn. That wouldn't be smart. What I'm probably going to do is do this card right here called Contacts. It says bonus exhaust at any time to gain up to 1 secrecy, or sorry, gain a secrecy up to 7. So I'm going to do this to bring my secrecy back to 4, so it's not as low. I have these 2 right here. It says spend 1 secrecy to search with 2 dice, or exhaust to move to an adjacent location, gain 2 secrecy. That could be actually really good. That actually might be perfect for the next turn. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do the eavesdrop, and I'm going to do a search action. So I'm going to go ahead and spend a secrecy, which is dangerous, but it's okay because I'm staying so far away from the Necromancer. I should be okay. And we're going to be able to search with 2 dice. So that's really, really good. Gives us a better chance of finding something. Now, the search difficulty here is a 4. And these are the types of things that you can find here. Clues or potentially items. So there could be some good things here. So let's go ahead and grab 2 dice and roll them off and hope for the best here. So when we go ahead and do this action, we spent our secrecy and we get 2 dice. And we're really just hoping for a 4, 5, or 6. We got a 5. So we did get our 1 success. Okay, so that's good. All right, so we're going to go ahead now. We're going to grab a map, and thank goodness I got 1 success in that. We're going to look at ruins and find out what we found. Oh, what is that? I'm actually not familiar with what that is. I'm going to have to look that up, but that looks pretty handy. Let's see here if I can grab the reference sheet, and I think I just saw it already. It looks like it is a Forgotten Shrine. Gain 2 grace. Hey, you cannot complain about that. So my grace has gone up to 5. That's really good. So that was completely worth it. So that was very, very worth it. So that essentially is going to be the rogue's turn. So we'll deactivate the rogue now. And as the rogue is not around any yellow blights, there's going to be no defense needed. Now we're going to move over to the Conjurer. Now the Conjurer has a very interesting situation here, but first we'll start with the events because we don't want to miss that. Conjurer's in the same location as the rogue. So we're going to go ahead and pull an event card. And what is this going to do? This one is Dream Eater, and it's a 5. Ouch. This is it's going to create a blight if I fail this. That's not good. So we've got either an attack or an evade, depending on how we want to deal with this particular creature. I can't do anything else in this. Nope, I gotta fight or evade it. Yikes. This is tough. Well, I guess evading makes the most sense in this case, because if it's evaded, then it's out of question. I only have 1 die roll, so it's a 4, 5, or 6, and I can successfully evade this. I got a 1, so I did not, and because of that, I have to create a blight. So when you create a blight, you essentially will take this card for now, remove it. This is not good for us. Go over to the map deck and pull a card. This is going to tell us, well, where we are. We're in the ruins. We're going to find out what type of blight. Oh, we've got a pack of zombies. That's fantastic. Not so much. So we got some zombies in here now, which we didn't really want, thanks to that particular event. And now we have something we might want to try to get rid of. Now this zombie pack, now we're going to go ahead with the action phase of our Conjurer, who's now failed that check, and zombies have come out of the ruins at us. You can see here that if we try to fight this, we're going to be going after the might of the zombies, which is down in the larger circle in the bottom left, or essentially what's right here. When we're defending, we do the top one. So that's on a situation where we end our turn and they are still there. We're going to have to defend against them as well. So in other words, this zombie being here, if we do not try to attack it and kill it, we're going to have to we're going to have to defend against it if we start our turn when there is a blight in our particular location. So that's not good. So let's go ahead and think about attack. Now the thing is, if I fail this check, I lose, I die. And by dying, I'd have to spend a grace, which would lower my grace down to 1, which is very, very dangerous. But I think I have to risk it because I have to risk it. I have to get rid of this thing. I don't want it to be there when both of my characters are up next. So we're going to roll 1 die. This is really, really risky. I got a 6, so I succeeded. Oh my goodness. So we got rid of the zombies, thank goodness. So I had to use a attack action there. Now, in order to do an attack action, I lose a secrecy because I come out of hiding to do so, but at least I killed it. So that's the good thing. And now the Conjurer has completed the turn. Thank goodness. There is nothing here, nothing to worry about in future turns. So that's good. Moving over to the Nymph, who's way over here. The Nymph is probably my strongest character by far, but is by far in the worst situation. Let's go ahead with the Nymph's turn. Now the one thing I want to make 100% clear, because I might be talking back and forth a little bit about the way that you defend against a blight and the way you attack against a blight. So attacking happens during your action. So basically when you have your action for your character, whichever hero you're using, you can use your action to attack a blight. When you attack it and you choose to attack it as an action, you can kill it. You can actually get rid of it off the board. However, if you're defending against it, in other words, you've come to the end of your hero turn for a particular hero. So say, for instance, with a Nymph, if I happen to be like in this situation by the end of my turn, I'm going to have to fight one of every type of yellow blight in this particular area. So I'd have to defend against, not fight, but defend against one of these skeletons, which means if I succeed at it, I do not kill it, I just stop it from hurting me. And then not until my next turn, when I spend an action to attack it, could I take it off. So that's where it gets really tough. So right now, this character is going to probably, well, first off, we're going to have to grab an event card and then go from there and hope that we can knock out one of these guys. But even if we do knock out one of the skeletons, one's going to still be there to attack us. So the event card here is Fisher. That sounds terrible. So this is a difficulty 2. This one says right off the bat that we lose a grace and you may move to any location except the monastery. So that's actually perfect, because if I don't want to be there, I can just leave right now. The downside is I'm losing a grace and I'm not getting this mystery. That's the only thing. It does say you may move, so you don't have to. So I'm going to, first off, I'll drop my grace down to 4. The next question is, do I want to leave or not? The harsh thing is too, is that if I'm, now I can only gain 4 because my grace is currently 4. So if I try to solve that mystery, I'd only gain 4 clues instead of 5 that I just had, so that's not good. If I happen to move anywhere else, it's not really going to do much for me, because I'm not going to be able to, you know what, I'm not going to move, I'm going to stay put. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this card, I'm losing the grace, and then I'm discarding it, so that's the event phase all done. So the next thing I'm going to do is, we already know that I've exhausted this card from before, but it's because I've chosen Autumn. Now I don't get the benefit of attacking twice right now, but as I've chosen it to be Autumn, the bonus is this card right here, being that it's a bonus card, and actually it is based on what particular season the Nymph has chosen, and I've chosen Autumn, I gain a spark before I attack every single time as a bonus. So if I choose to attack this skeleton, I'm going to get a spark beforehand, meaning I can roll 2 dice and have a better chance of taking one out. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm not going to take, this is to be the spark that I would take, essentially before the attack. I'm going to pay it right back in order to grab 2 dice. We're going to roll, and we're going to hope to take out one of the 2 skeletons that are here, knowing full well we're going to have to defend against this one afterwards. I'm really hoping that I do this. If I don't, I could end up losing another grace. I didn't do it. No. So I take another grace hit, so I'm down to 3. That is so tough. Okay, so, ouch. So the reason I took the grace hit, guys, just so you understand, is I needed to get, now I'm not talking about the top section. I'm trying to get a 5 or a 6. I didn't do that. I got 2 2s, and it's a skull and crossbones, which is a death, essentially, and grace, as I just knocked down to 3, is the only thing to save me from dying. So now that my action is done, I now have to, in the end phase of my turn, if I'm in the same area, for every type of yellow blight that's in there, I have to face one of them. So if there's 2 skeletons, I just have to face 1. So in this particular case, I'm going to need a 4, 5, or 6 in order to not be killed. So that's essentially what I'm going for. Here's the roll. I'm hoping I'm able to defend. And of course, if I get a 4, 5, or 6, I don't and cannot kill the skeleton. This is just a defend. So I did defend against it. I'm not hurt. So even though I lost when I tried to kill it, that's the kind of roll I needed when I tried to attack it, essentially. But I did defend successfully against it, so I'm safe for now. Again, I'm going to deactivate the Nymph now, and we've got all 4 characters deactivated. And now we can move on to the Necromancer's turn. So as per normal, the darkness track is going to increase. That's right. It's getting even closer to 10, which I do not want. And the next thing that's going to happen is the quest timer is going to go up, but we don't have any quests in play at the moment. So now we're just going to roll a die to determine the Necromancer and see whether he can see anybody. Now currently, in terms of where we are for secrecy, the Alchemist, a 6 would reveal him. For the Rogue, a 4, 5, or 6 would. That's really dangerous. For a 5 or 6 for the Conjurer, and a 6 for the Nymph. So I think the Rogue is in the worst position right here. Unless we roll a 1, 2, or 3, we are in a little bit of trouble. I got a 1. So he sees nobody. So that's fantastic. But what we do now, because he sees nobody, is we got to take a look and find out where he goes. And as you would know it, the 1 is right here, which is going to send him back into the swamp, which is not good because this is going to actually create the 4th blight in this location now, which I do not want, because once it reaches 4, any future blights that land here will then start being dropped into the monastery, and that's how we can lose the game if the monastery becomes overrun. So we are currently in the swamp, and we just got a Nexus dropped in there, and that's a red one, and that is not good. I don't know exactly what the Nexus does, but it doesn't sound good. What does this do? Protects far blights. No effect. 3. That doesn't sound good. So basically it's protecting blights, I think, outside of its space would be my guess. So let me just put that down, and we're going to do a quick check here with the reference chart, because there's a little bit more information on this really handy sheet here. So in the red section, the Nexus right here says, heroes cannot destroy blights that are outside the Nexus location. The Nexus must be destroyed first. So this is the one that needs to be taken out, but at least it's a 3, so it's not as bad. But now we've just cluttered this up even more, and the Nymph now is in a spot where the Necromancer is going to remove another secrecy from her, coming into the next round, which is not good. Unless we can do something about potentially... Oh, man. We really needed this summon to be back up and active in order to have her be summoned out, because this is getting a little nasty. But we're going to go ahead right now, and now that the Necromancer has completed the Blight turn, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the very next round. So the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is we're going to go ahead and reactivate all of our heroes, just like this. We're going to cross our fingers that things go a little bit better this time. So the first thing is the Alchemist. The Alchemist currently sits in the middle of the map, still with that nasty omen for higher fate events. So we're going to have to pull 2 events and see what happens. We got Close Call, which is a difficulty 4. That looks pretty decently high, likely to be the one we're going to have to deal with. And a Call to Action, which is a 3. So this one we're going to lose, and oh, wouldn't you know it, it says right there, gain a spark. Too bad, we're not going to get that. Oh, that's not the way this is going. So Close Call, roll 1 die and take the highest. No effect, lose a secrecy, lose a grace. There's nothing good about this. The darkness slips quietly between the trees. You slowly resume breathing. Not sure that I want to anymore. I got a 1. That's really bad, so I lose a grace. Oh my goodness. I'm just getting thrashed. Okay, so, I mean, I'm still having a blast, but this game is just beating me right to the ground. This might be the toughest game I've played so far. So there we go. That's the Alchemist event phase done, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with an action. I've got a new plan with the Alchemist. I'm going to send the Alchemist back to the monastery because his grace is getting to a point where I'm getting really scared he could get knocked off. The same with the Conjurer, actually, is not in a good spot. So I'm thinking I'm going to actually send the Alchemist back to the monastery for 1 movement. He would gain a secrecy if he can go past 5, but he's already at 5, so he doesn't, and that essentially is going to end his turn. The good thing is he's not going to get affected by events because he's in a safe haven right now, and I can hopefully pray on a future turn to roll 2 dice, and any 3 or higher, I'm going to gain a grace on it. So it's a 50-50 shot. I guess it's not a 50-50 shot. It's actually a little better than a 50-50 shot. 3, 4, 5, 6. So a decent chance to get a little higher up. But I really don't think he's going to help right now with his grace being so low, and I don't want to get him into a situation where he ends up getting killed off, which is what's probably going to happen to a lot of my heroes. So what we're going to do next is I may have my rogue. Well, I guess at this point in time, my rogue is next. My rogue is in the ruins, which is very protected at the moment, but I still have to deal with an event. So my event is a dead servant compared to secrecy. My secrecy right now is a 3, which is not that great. So an archer. So the rotten smell informs you that this one, like most of the Necromancer's minions, has been dead for some time. So an archer, I just have to evade or succeed at this. Can I do anything about this? This one says spend 160 to search with 2 dice. Nope. And this one, nope. So I'm going to have to roll 1 die, and I'm going to have to hope that I get a 4, 5, or 6 in order to survive. I do. So I do not take... I don't die, which means I don't lose any grace, and that's great. All right, the decision had to be made, even though it was a tough one. I'm going to have the rogue head in there, and he's going to use the smuggling network card in order to do so. So I'm going to have to spend a secrecy, which I don't have many of, in order to do this, to take a movement act, or basically I'm able to move to adjacent location and then take a different action. So the rogue is now heading from the ruins into the swamp area. He's going to spend an action to complete this mystery, which is whosoever worthy, prophets of old have sealed away their wisdom for a time such as this. Prove your worthiness and you may inherit their secrets. Gain clues equal to your current grace and discard this card. Discarding the card, and my current grace is 5, which is the highest I have out there, and now I'm up to 7. Just 3 away from getting a holy relic is something I'm really trying to get, because things are getting very, very aggressive very quickly. So I've gone ahead and spent that as an action, so that's all complete. That's as much as I can do with the rogue at this point, but the downside is the rogue does end his turn in a spot with yellow blights, and we'll have to defend against a skeleton. So we're going to have to try to roll a 4, 5, or 6 and hope that we can defend against it, and we do. We got a 5, so it was worth it after all. Oh, man, this is stressful. Okay, so moving over here to the Conjurer. The Conjurer is sitting right here right now. This may be very interesting in terms of, let's see here, activating your location, then hide. If the Necromancer would enter that location, cancels. But ooh, so I needed him in there. Oh, that was bad on my part. I should have moved him in last turn. That would have been a smart, strategic move, was to move the Conjurer in here, put the invisible barrier up so that the Necromancer couldn't get back inside. So that's really not good. The downside of this, too, is the rogue has such a bad secrecy level currently that he's likely to be spotted unless the Necromancer gets an incredibly low roll. So yeah, this is going to be very, very, very tough. So I put myself in a little bit of a bind here. I'm going to probably have my Conjurer... Ooh, what should I do? I do need to help them out with getting rid of these blights, so I should probably get in there. Downside being his grace is super low, and if I fail on any checks, even to defend, I'm going to be hurting the party rather than helping it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to move to the village, and I'm going to up my secrecy to 5. I'm going to do just a movement. I'm heading to the castle. I want to... Well, actually, I don't even know about that. Oh, I don't even know if that's a good thing to do. Let me rethink this. Conjurer, what is your play here? We can meditate to gain a spark. That wouldn't be a bad idea. And now that the Rogue and the Nymph are in there, then maybe that's the best idea. Gain a Spark. I'm just going to gain a Spark and get ready to go in there and have a better chance at not failing the next time. Or I could potentially do this to summon. Yeah, let's do that actually. Let's see here. If I do a hide action, I can refresh my powers and gain a secrecy up to 5. That's perfect. So I'll gain my secrecy up to 5 and refresh the summon. So not only do I get to hide a little bit better, but I also get to I'm able to pull one of these guys out if they happen to get into trouble, or I don't want them in there. So that's essentially going to end the Conjurer's turn. Now we're going to move over to the Nymph's turn, who is currently inside of this mess, but the Nymph has to pull a card first. And what is the Nymph going to get for the event? Respite. Reshuffle the event deck, including this. This card has no other effect. So we're going to be going ahead and taking all of the discarded cards that we've gone through so far, which is a decent stack. All of this is going to be shuffled back into the event deck, and we'll be right back. All right, so the Nymph got very lucky on that last draw for the event deck because it was just a reshuffle. Now we have an action to spend. What do I want to do? Well, I have to focus on this blight because the Nexus is protecting all the blights on the board, and basically, well, it's protecting everything. So let me just double check to see if it's protecting the blights that are currently in the same area as it, or if it's just protecting the ones on other spots on the board, because if it is, I can go right for the skeleton, which I'd prefer to do. So it says heroes cannot destroy blights that are outside the Nexus location. Ah, okay, perfect. So I can ignore that blight as not being very important at the moment and go after a skeleton, which is more important. And when I do that, because my cards have been set to autumn and still are, I gain a spark, which gives me 2 dice going against the skeleton. So I'm hoping to land a 5 or a 6, and if I don't, I'm going to squeal in pain. Okay, perfect. I got a 6. Awesome. So one of the skeletons has been taken out, which leaves only one left. My turn is over. I'm going to have to defend against this skeleton now, and I need to get a 4, 5, or a 6 on one die to not die. I got a 2, so that is going to hurt me. I do die from the skeletons, go down to 2 grace. Not good, but I'm still alive, and at least I've removed one of the skeletons there. So that's going to now deactivate the Nymph, and the Nymph's turn is done. We'll go to the Necromancer, whose darkness is going to move to 9, which is not good. Next up, we're going to go ahead with the Necromancer, making life even worse for us, as we roll to see whether or not our secrecy will find us out. So right now we have a 5 on the Alchemist, a 2 on the Rogue, that's terrible, a 5 on the Conjurer, and a 5 on the... We're actually not doing too bad with secrecy, except for the Rogue is doing horrible. And the Rogue might actually cause us to be... the Necromancer to stay in the location. Please get a 1. Please get a 1. Ah, 6. That's really high. So a 6 means that he's seen the Alchemist, he sees the Rogue, he sees the Conjurer, and he sees the Nymph. So at this particular time, the Necromancer has seen all of us. Oh, actually that's not true. He cannot see the Alchemist because the Alchemist is in the monastery. But these 3 individuals he can see. That was quite an amazing roll by the Necromancer, I'm not going to lie. So getting a 6 was going to enable the Necromancer to see all 3 of my characters. Because of this, he's not going to move anywhere because he's currently in the space with the characters that he's revealed. Doesn't matter that he also revealed a Conjurer out of the area. He will stay put if there's a hero closest to him. So, sadly, that means that the only good news with this situation is that I did get rid of 1 blight. So because I got rid of a blight, then in that particular situation, he's going to create a new blight here, but it's not going to go in the monastery because there is room for another one. What I'm going to have to do strategically is, because the Rogue is so easily seen, I'm going to have to move the Rogue out of here on the next turn and get him moving away so I can draw the Necromancer out of this location and then try to purge the swamp and the castle, because otherwise things are going to get nasty. Maybe I can head the Rogue back towards the Alchemist and kind of, you know, play a little bit of cat and mouse with him. So we're going to pull a map deck card right now to find out what blight is going to be put on this location. So we are currently in the swamp. So that's going to be some webs. This is a blue one, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we've seen this one before, but it's not easy. It's a 5. What is it going to do here? Lose a turn leaving. And if you actually lose trying to take this thing out, you lose a secrecy. That's not good either. So let's check out what webs do, just to be 100% sure there's not anything extra to that. So coming over here to the chart and taking a look at, where's the webs? There it is. A hero that leaves the affected location loses a turn. Oh my goodness. That's a really bad time to be getting that. Because if I want to leave this location, I'm going to lose a turn. That is... Well, that's pretty much how things have panned out so far. So I'm actually having a blast, but I am getting just thrashed in this one. So obviously there's a lot of strategy in trying to control the Necromancer, because man, is this guy just putting the punishment on us. But that's essentially it. That's the second round all the way through. There's nothing else that we need to do. So we're going to be able to go ahead now, and actually this will be a great time to end the video. What I want to do though is throw it back to you guys, and I really want your feedback on what you think I should do next. You've seen my strategy so far, which it's worked and hasn't worked. We are getting closer though to a Holy Relic, and a Holy Relic can get us powerful enough to try to face the Necromancer kind of mano-a-mano and allow us to try to fight him, which would be really fun. I just don't know if that's the best strategy at this point, based on how things are currently going. I am getting a little overloaded in the swamp, which is going to start hurting the monastery very soon. But I think if I can get my rogue, who's got very little secrecy and will likely be spotted all the time, to kind of run away and cause the Necromancer to follow him, then maybe I can have some control over where these blights are being put. But the more blights that come out, the more effects that come out, the nastier this gets. One thing I'd like to correct that I just realized is that the Nymph actually should have lost a secrecy for having the Necromancer in the same location when she started her turn. So we're going to knock the secrecy of the Nymph down to 4, and then we're all squared away. So anyway, if you've played this game quite a bit and you have an opinion or a strategy, please let me know in the comments below. Or if you just want to have a comment about something you saw I missed, or you want to add, or just whether you like or dislike the game, anything like that, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback as always. So thanks so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.